Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Capitalist Investor. As always, you have me, Diamond Hands D, and we got the whole crew back. Tony the Tiger, Cool Hands Luke. What's going on, guys?
What up? What's going on?
All right. Well, for this episode, we actually saw an article basically talking about the impact of capital gains, and essentially, I think the person was complaining. Because they made some transactions and there was capital gains involved, but they did not withhold any taxes on those capital gains. So April 15th rolls around and you have a big tax bill. So that's always a hot topic to talk about. So
like this
Tony's ready to go.
This article was pretty funny. Well, not funny, but it was
funny to us, probably.
Yeah, maybe. So first and foremost, I will always tell people, and they don't like this, or maybe it doesn't resonate, but paying taxes is a penalty of success. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But if you are paying taxes, that means you're making money. Now, what this article ends up doing is they're talking about how they basically have to pay taxes on the mutual funds that they own in particular brokerage accounts. So first and foremost, I think the education needs to happen. What needs to happen is that this is a very isolated kind of situation. This person had mutual funds inside of a non-qualified account. This article would not have been generated if this person had an IRA. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, a lot of people maybe don't understand the taxes of a mutual fund. I can buy a mutual fund today, and a mutual fund may own 200 stocks. But this mutual fund may have held, I just bought this stock. And 3 months later, I'm hit with a capital gains tax, but I didn't even sell the mutual fund. What happened? Well, that mutual fund has owned this collection of stocks for 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, who knows? But as soon as they sell anything, those capital gains that they realize transfer to the people holding that mutual fund. Again, another kind of like ding on owning a mutual fund. Mm-hmm. But, this article kind of went through and said, well, then maybe what you should do is start withholding more taxes in your out of your pay, or increase the holdings from your retirement distributions, or start paying estimated tax. So I'm like, yeah, but then what if they don't do anything? I withheld all this tax and I'm just going to get my money back later. I mean, I guess you're like hedging against like getting blown up with taxes, but at the end of the year. But here, how about this idea? So if you have to own mutual funds and ETFs, if that's your thing, why don't you just hold those in IRAs? Because when the capital gains tax is generated from a mutual fund doing whatever they're doing, and they're not going to tell you until the end of the year, you're never going to be taxed in an IRA until you take the money out yourself. So the capital gains does not exist in the IRA or the ETFs. So if this person, the two things I would talk to this person with is like, why don't you own just individual stocks in your non-qualified account? Because now you control what is going to happen. You can control the tax loss harvesting. You can control the short-term and long-term capital gains. So again, most people, I'm just going to say this as a general topic. It's not meant to single anyone out, but if you're buying mutual funds and ETFs, it's because you're just trying to be involved in the market. You don't know what the next hot stock is, or, how to play individual stocks, or it's maybe the investing is too sophisticated for you. That's why I buy mutual funds and ETFs. There's nothing wrong with that. But, if you want to then control your tax situation, you need to understand the taxation of the investments that you're buying and where you're putting them, asset location. I'm going to put my mutual funds in my IRAs because I'll never have to pay taxes on them until I take the money out. I can control the taxes in a non-qualified account by buying and selling a stock whenever I want. So that's my take on this article.
Or we should just do away with most of the government and pay no tax.
There we go. It's flat tax, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're back
That's
to
always my.
and we're back to flat tax.
That's always my take. Is
The world's
tax,
flat, and so is taxes.
taxes.
We haven't had a flat
no,
Earth discussion
we
in a
had
while.
Flat Earth. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So,
what's it called? The not Parliament. What's the
firmament.
firmament?
Yeah. I don't know why I spend too much time on Twitter. I guess it just pops up in your feed.
Great. I'm gonna get flat Earth stuff popping in.
Yeah, it's already in there.
It's
now.
already
Your
listening.
phone has already
It's
heard
listening
me.
to
So yeah, I'd say this article is like a prime example of how people who kind of do it on their own don't necessarily take everything into account. And taxes are a great example of that. And asset location is a great example of that. Always, it doesn't matter what it is. The best time to fix a problem is before it starts. So I think this person was kind of surprised about taxes. And you can't be that way, right? You need to have a strategy beforehand for how you're going to deal with all this stuff.
Education.
Yep, exactly.
It just starts with educating yourself on the taxation of different types of investments, the accounts that you're putting these investments in, because they all play differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. Yeah, and it's the people with money in a non-qualified account, have they exhausted other options? And like Tony said, just paying taxes isn't necessarily a bad thing if you have a plan in place. If you're holding on to like a Tesla, for example, and you have huge capital gains, and you're like, at the beginning of this year, you're like, oh well, should I maybe trim that position, and you just let it ride, and your accounts, that position is down. I don't know what Tesla's down, maybe 20% this year, just to save the taxes, right? So having a strategy in mind with the positions that you have inside of your non-qualified account is also a tax strategy, right? We have to know when we're going to buy, when we're going to sell, and like Tony said, and like we're talking about in this article, what type of investment you're even putting in to those accounts.
I again, the only input I have around taxes essentially is there's different strategies at the end of the year you can utilize, like Tony was referring to the tax loss harvesting, but even like there's even these new age like ways of investing like that come up every once in a while. Like there's like, have you ever heard of direct indexing, things like that? If you are going to own something like an ETF mutual fund, if that's the path you choose, you could always pick all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 and weight them yourselves, or have someone else weight them for you. And you go in there, and then you can actually tax loss harvest all 500 stocks rather than put it into a mutual fund or whatever, be ETF, and just have them do it for you. So that way you can actually decide what your tax bill is at the end of the year, depending on how good certain stocks do. So there's all kinds of different philosophies and ways of going about it. Again, the only frustrating thing that I always go back to is, we do pay a lot in taxes. And when are we ever not going to pay so much in taxes? And the answer in my lifetime is probably never. It's probably going to be higher and higher. So you have to be more and more conscious, I think, of this as time goes on, because we're just going to be taxed more and more, and in different areas too. So tax planning, tax strategy is more important than almost any other strategy. Taxes are one of the biggest hindrances to wealth creation over time. They're saying like, whenever time you try to take a step up in this world, someone's trying to bring you down. Well, it's really the government trying to bring you down.
Amen, brother.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
All right. So again, I think it comes down to educating yourself on what you're buying when it comes to your investments and where you're putting them. There's every different type of account that you're saving money into has different tax consequences.
Yep.
So that's why, again, working with somebody.
Yeah, just don't even work hard anymore. You can just not pay any taxes. You can get funneled government money from the taxes that other people do pay. You can live off of social programs the rest of your life and do nothing and add no productivity. That's the system that we've created.
Yeah.
So why even work hard in today's world?
All right.
Wow. Get off my lawn take there at the end. I like it.
Get off my lawn.
But it's true. That is what we've seen here in the last 4 years. It's quite a drastic change, just mentally.
Mental
just kind of
idea of
seeing it all unfold in front of you. So,
yep.
Yeah, at least you guys are almost boomers, and you guys only got a couple more years.
Jeez,
I got to put up with this for another 40 years.
Man,
well.
Man, haymakers are just not on. That's on all sides of the table.
Some uppercuts.
Holy cow!
Well, yeah. Well, I guess you won't have to worry about me being on the show for too much longer because I'm going to age out and get to retire here. But if I am back next week, tune in. It should be a good one. All right. So thanks for listening this week. Make sure you're doing everything with taxes in mind because, like Luke said, they are not going down anytime soon. If you guys have questions.
Is that what he said?
Anyway, yeah, he said the government's robbing us, essentially. Yeah, okay. If you have any questions, comments on that.
We fought a revolutionary war of our 1% tax.
It was 2% on tea, yep. So hit us up at info@swpconnect.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
Luke said that.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.